The communities of the South Pacific are known throughout the world for their natural beauty, exotic allure, rich culture and biological diversity, which unfortunately is in constant competition with development. It is suggested that once development begins in a particular area, its social and ecological systems endure varying patterns and extent of change, which are dependent upon the livelihoods activities of people and the reflexive and adaptive capacities of its system components. In the Pacific, tourism development stands out as the most logical of economic alternatives because it fits well within the apparent deficiencies that plague these often resource-deprived and very isolated island states. Have you ever wondered what makes Pacific Islanders and their ways of life so unique? What makes Pacific people amongst the most friendliest and most attractive people in the world? Well, my research seeks to answer some of these questions and to shed light on the social and ecological interconnectedness of indigenous Fijian society. It examines how Fijian communities adapt, respond, and cope with the challenges of development, particularly development that is related to tourism. Using a case study methodology and the employment of predominantly qualitative and ethnographic techniques, I set out to live in an indigenous Fijian village for over 5 months, immersing, engaging, and closely interacting with locals in order to gain a clearer understanding of the realities and challenges they face from their perspectives. The findings are both interesting and encouraging, showing that indigenous Fijians, like many societies in the Pacific and across the world, are seamlessly connected to their natural resources through their culture, traditions, and by the very manner in which they live. And their over 40 years of tourism involvement has driven a wedge in between the nature and human interactions, creating ecological changes that have spurred further socio-cultural shifts within the highly embedded elements of society. The findings of my research also show that indigenous Fijians are not mere bystanders in the process of development, but are active, aware, and continually seek out ways in which to enrich their lives and improve the status quo. Ultimately, the findings of my research give us hope in people, their cultures, and their very way of life, in that they are adaptive, reflexive, and will be able to cope with the increasingly complex social, economic, political, and climatic changes that befall us as a global community. Thank you.